Hi, students. I wanted to share with you a really good video that explains um, do's somewhat and also some corrective measures you can take if you have certain functional limitations. And we all do in our bodies. We have areas that are tight. Particularly men have narrower hips than women and may need some help with some of the stretching of the hamstrings because their hips are slightly different. So this gives you some ideas about how your muscles work, how your anatomy works, and some things you can use to help you with the alignment cues that I'm asking for and for modifications that might work for you. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to look for the video and put it on here. So hang in there. All right. So I'm going to increase the size of it and you should be able to see it more in full here. So this is a really good YouTube video that gives you kind of a 3D vision of some of the poses that we're going to be looking at in this course, particularly the ones at the beginning. So let's get started. So here we have head to knee forward bend. And this one is the one with the knee open to the side and the and one leg extended. These little green things here, I don't know if you can see them, are the movers. And they're showing you the little muscle movers. These little green men are the muscle movers. So where it's yellow, they are stretching. All right. And the point of this particular video is to show you that you want to stretch when you're doing any forward bending motion from like sitting forward bend or head to knee forward bend. You want to use the back muscles. You don't want to use, and I'm going to go back there. You don't want to tilt the pelvis. You actually, you can tilt the pelvis slightly, but it's mainly the back muscles that are stretching and the hamstrings on the bottom here. Okay, so let's continue on. And they're showing you in this video that their muscles are also contracting. So in this case, it's your quadriceps, the top of your thigh, that's contracting, and it's the bottom muscles of your hamstrings that are stretching. So this is just a little bit more information for you. This video, if you're not hearing anything on the video, it's because it doesn't have any sound. So that's why I'm giving you some narration on it. Okay, let's continue on. So stretching the erector spinae muscles, those are the muscles that run along your spine. Without arm support, the erector spinae will stretch actively. So they are stretching here, and in your case, they might be very tight. But also the limitations might be back here with your gluteus maximus and your hamstring. Your gastrocnemius is also involved, and that's your calf muscle. Okay, so here we continue. And here the gluteus medius muscle is being used. The abductor longus muscles are being used. And here you see the person fully open. And most of you will not be able to do that, okay? Because one, your body isn't used to it and doesn't have the capability at the moment. Or two, particularly for men, you can't open your hips this much. And one of the solutions will be to sit on a folded blanket, which they're going to show in a few minutes. So let's continue on here. Again, another view. Another view of the hamstring muscles here. You're kind of looking at it from the bottom upward. So this is a 3D video. You're seeing it from many different angles. Okay. So if you're watching this, you're seeing that limitations in straightening the leg resulted from shortened hamstrings may be a problem for you. So This is not something you want to force. It's something that will develop a little bit more flexibility as the course goes on. But there are other things that you can do to make sure that you're using the correct muscles to stretch and not overtaxing certain areas of your body. All right. I'm going to go back to that one because it did have some things. To rotate the pelvis, additionally, an additional stretching is necessary. So what they're saying there is that to actually get your pelvis or your hips to move closer to your leg, you'll need some more flexibility in your hamstring, which you will get over time, but there are limits depending on your genetic predisposition. If you were born with tight muscles, you may end up with very strong muscles, but tight muscles, and there may be limits. So don't overtax yourself. Another view from the bottom, just showing the hamstring stretching. Now here we go into some modifications. All right, so we talk about do's and the do's for that particular pose, just so you understand the difference between directions and do's. The do's would be to try to maintain a equal curve in your back so that you're not overstretching one particular area as you're reaching your nose toward your knee. Make sure that your foot is flexed. That protects the knee joint when you're doing those forward bending motions. So when you're standing, it's easy when you're over because your feet are flexed, you're standing on them. But when you're sitting, you may not be aware that flexing your extended leg will help protect your knee joint. So that's another do or alignment cue. Another alignment cue for this one is to hold your abdominals in because that helps protect your lower back as well, which sometimes tries to take over in the stretching rather than equally using the roundness or the stretch across the whole entire spine. So pulling those abdominals in will help protect your lower back. So here is a very familiar, that was a very familiar use of a modification using the strap, as we've shown early in this course. Your arms behind your back in some of these poses, in extended, in sitting forward bend, that's a really good way to keep your shoulders down, keep the curve equal in your back, and press forward without a strap or without any dropping of the back and overstretching of the back onto the leg. So pushing with the hands is a good way to mitigate any. And here's a really great suggestion, which I give in my classes often, is sit on something. Sit up on something. That makes the stretching much easier. Here they're using, rather than using blocks, they're using a little table to support the arms. And this is for somebody who's extremely tight. You could use a chair in front of you to reach for if you can't even reach for blocks beside you. But sitting on a blanket and using the blocks by your feet at their highest level could help you in doing this position. And you can notice the practitioner here is just reaching forward. Again, this is what they're talking about. This non-sequential arch is where you're using one area very, very curved, and the rest is just static or tight. So you want to make your stretching equal, and using some of those techniques of using a strap, sitting up high on something, and using something to reach for that is up at a higher level, like blocks or a chair, are ways to improve this pose and make it so that you don't injure yourself or overtax your muscles. So here they're showing again, here the hands are just extended, they're not really doing anything. You really want to have your hands on something because otherwise you're putting a lot of strain on that. Particularly, I know it doesn't look like it, but your lower back here. Okay. And that's the end of that video. All right. Well, I'm going to stop sharing here. And I hope you enjoyed this video and it gives you a little bit clearer idea of what I'm expecting as alignment cues or do's and some of the modifications that you might think about when you're doing, in particular, sitting forward bend. What do you think about things that might work for you? So not all of the ones that are possible are here. So if you have some other suggestions, make sure to include them in our discussions. Thank you for watching.